11:36 a.m. As you can see, February 19th, this is documentation regarding federal stalking by the entity that is currently engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct. This is punctuated by the stalking by the Ontario International Airport, the Ontario Police Department, the City of Ontario, as I'm documenting this morning. This is essentially the entity. So the entity is actively engaging in what is gang stalking and furtherance of murder, and is at the same time keeping me under surveillance on the internet, which is proof of surveillance, proof of targeting, knowledge of who I am, knowledge of what it is that I'm doing on my device. That's also proven through the P.O.C. itself with regard to the entity stalking with light, doing so under what is the supernatural, the fake sun. The entity has engaged in what is surveillance online with regard to blocking my account. This is an unlawful threat to my life. This is relevant also to the ongoing surveillance and obstruction tactics on YouTube, where the public investigation is published online. The entity, as I'm accessing my account to publish information regarding the criminal activity that the state of California is literally right now engaging in, the entity has blocked access to my account. So I want to capture this. This is upon accessing it on my phone. Inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, they are gang stalking. They're doing so in furtherance of murder while actively blocking my ability to publish the evidence, while they are stalking obsessively, monitoring my vagina, simultaneously blocking their identities while they are actively seeking in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder someone. This is what an entity does, keeping you living in a bubble while they're stalking you until they take your life. Okay? They're doing this while they steal your identity. They're doing this while they are kidnapping you. And this is the entity that is indeed going to federal prison. Daisy is here, the entity that's at the OVITT Family Community Library, the entity that's gang stalking and kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department, are engaged in surveillance on the venue of the internet, where I'm documenting the entity stalking at Stater Brothers, the airport stalking at that shopping center, the airport, the City of Ontario following to the Ontario Town Square, the City of Ontario employees gang stalking, the entity doing so inside of this venue that's filled with engineered light. Okay, this is where they're engaging what is taking things apart and then putting it back together and calling it repairs by the City of Ontario that are monitoring with the people of the state, engaging in surveillance in that environment. This is an unlawful threat to your life. It is committed in furtherance of murder. It's federal stalking under the same statute, Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2, and it is committed with the intent to preclude, to stifle, to stop, to deter, while the entity is still gang stalking, seeking to deter your publishing that evidence. And that's the murderer, that's the kidnapper. Okay, that's essentially the gang stalking police department that are stopping you from publishing their identities while they complete taking your life, and then they control the narrative at the same time. They do so in concert with the people of the state. This is relevant to that pattern of conduct on the venue of the internet. So I do want to go ahead and document the entity that is blocking my account. And so this is precluding the public from being able to access my account as well. So I'm looking at what you would see were you to look at my evidence online, where an American citizen is pleading for help, seeking to attract attention about what the government, the population is doing to them, and that entity that is seeking to obstruct access. I want to be clear, Don Quinones, everybody inside of Stater Brothers gang stalking, that's federal prison. I just want to be clear on that. This is what an entity does with regard to taking the life of an American citizen to silence them and then removing the evidence. What the entity is doing to me, the entity is going to federal prison for it. Okay? They're doing so with the Ontario International Airport. These demons that are engaging in what is the ongoing maintenance of criminal surveillance through the airport, which I am documenting following me throughout the City of Ontario, where there are no flights that would be departing from any of the terminals, Terminal 2 and Terminal 4. There's only 2 terminals, where there are arriving and departing outside of what's published on the website that is shared by the City of Ontario International Airport, and also doing so in a manner that is clearly showing to be targeting me, proven through that environment and proven through knowledge about what's published online, where it is inexplicable ongoing means of accessing my accounts outside of my consent and knowledge, relevant to indeed surveillance, seeking to obstruct justice. And this is relevant to federal prison. Okay, these are terrorist leaders. These are not executive board holders. These are the entity and their demons as well that are engaging in criminal surveillance as I've exposed them. And while I document, the entity is targeting me on the venue of the internet, which is an unlawful real-time threat to my life. The Ontario Police Department, even the OVITT Family Community Library have already exhibited with regard to what is criminal summoning, and you're immediately kidnapped for an inexplicable random amount of time based on making up charges based on the criminal conduct shared by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department and the courthouse. This is indeed an unlawful threat to liberty and to your well-being, to your life and your safety. And this is that which is shared by the entity that is documented as I'm documenting them. The entity seeks to obstruct justice by blocking that evidence that's on the video of the internet. Not only is it relevant to its probative value, that's why you're trying to block it. You're still gang stalking me while you're simultaneously trying to suppress evidence, and you're going to prison for that. You're going from being documented as a terrorist, which is a federal case for terrorism, to federal prison as I document you in that evidence that is being blocked on the venue of the internet, where that American citizen's life is subject to an ongoing real-time threat, because the entity is acting in furtherance of murder, and that ongoing emergency remains in existence. Okay, this is relevant to the criminal conduct by the airport that's engaged in the pattern of conduct. This is relevant to the terrorist leader with regard to the gang stalking by the airport, the gang stalking by the police department, the gang stalking by the fire department, the gang stalking by American Medical Response, the so-called EMTs operating emergency vehicles who are sharing the pattern of conduct, the gang stalking by the municipality utilizing the resources of the city to engage in surveillance, like what I'm documenting on the Google Drive and what I'm documenting on my device regarding the City of Ontario, stalking with light, using the vehicles, doing so at the facilitating venues such as OVITT Family Community Library and the Ontario Town Square. All right, the people of the state that are documented gang stalking me are published on X this morning, showing what it is that I'm subject to, showing the ceaseless pattern of conduct, criminal monitoring and furtherance of murder in the neighborhood grocery store, which is punctuated by the entity stalking me in that parking lot, showing how they're stalking in the store, and they are also stalking on behalf of the state, and that's shown as I walk outside of the store. Lupe and the gang stalking customers are sharing in the state's pattern of conduct, and this is the substance of what is published online while I'm documenting the P.O.C, and this is relevant to those that are aware that they're being documented, not because they're looking at me, even though they shouldn't be, because I'm not looking at them. I'm not holding my phone up in a manner where I'm like, look, say cheese, I'm documenting you. I don't say anything. I'm holding my phone in a manner where you are necessarily assuming that I'm even focused on you, and they're always looking directly at me when I'm documenting them, and this is just circumstantial evidence. You already know that they're monitoring on the venue of the internet and on devices. These are demons. Moreover, they're doing it under the fake sun and an engineer light. They're walking around holding a carton of milk with double and triple shadows. They're stalking inside of the store. This is why the entity is engaging in, this is surveillance in the grocery store, and this is psychotic. This is the entity that then goes behind and blocks what is supposedly innocent conduct. And so this is what is so probative about what is exposing the mental illness of the people of the state who are demons, who are aware that they're being documented, and their awareness is not through their ongoing psychotic act of stalking you and not looking at you and not knowing you, but through their ongoing incriminating behaviors such as criminal summoning and also the obstruction that I've documented on the venue of the internet, where you are targeting me online, aware of what it is that I'm doing on the internet, apparently, because what is drawing attention to it, and what is drawing attention to what is seemingly innocent conduct of walking by in the grocery store. Moreover, it's something that is not under any circumstances private. I'm not in anybody's home taking pictures of their children in the nude. To the contrary, the entity is engaged in what is violating me being in my home, in my private space, in the private space of the restroom, keeping me under surveillance, keeping my genitalia under surveillance, placing cameras on me and putting that on the internet. And this is what the entity is seeking to block from you being able to see the demons who are indeed gang stalking. And this is relevant to federal prison. Okay, they're engaging in psychopathic pacing inside of the venue. This is Kia. Okay, and they're gang stalking at the register. This is the federal RICO case, standing in engineer light, doing so. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct as I exit the store at 7:04 a.m. The fake sun is so low, it's underneath the structure. And this is a stalker in perfect alignment. The entity that I'm documenting what is my purchase, and this is indeed Kia. This is evidence, and David Quinones is in the store. This is relevant to federal prison, because this is exactly what's going to happen when American citizens are subject to the conspiracy to murder by being targeted, and then that government is then seeking to control, suppress, arrest, remove evidence, even by kidnapping, which the Ontario Police, the entity, has committed several times over the course of my documentation. This is engineered light above the structure, underneath a covered structure, while the engineered light is also stretching into underneath a structure. This is all manner of impossible light activity while the people of the state are stalking, and I document that, okay? And every license plate is speaking to those that are sharing in what is obstruction of justice, while the entity is also stalking by commercial planes. This is impossible light that the employees are walking in monitoring me. This is psychopathic pacing, while they are also engaged in vagina monitoring at Stater Brothers, where the entity is targeting. Okay, psychopathic pacing in the parking lot. And this is an entity that's not only engaging in what is criminal monitoring, stalking me as a population, they're also engaged in surveillance on the internet, and this is relevant to what is locking my account. This is the entity that's engaging in it. And by the way, there is nothing that you have any privacy rights to regarding your license plate, nor walking around in the grocery store. In addition to that, the government, which is what the people of the state represent, have no privacy. And in addition to that, you have no privacy, and you will not weaponize the idea, the notion of privacy, in order to protect yourself from being prosecuted, gang stalking an American citizen. There is no basis under any circumstances why my account should be blocked. It's relevant to surveillance, and the entity is subject to federal prison for it, and I will be prosecuting these online venues. They're third-party venues. All right, this is P.O.C. This is relevant to the ongoing targeting on YouTube as well, and it's an unlawful threat to my life. They are pacing in and out of the store while they are stalking. This inexplicable, psychotic, and deranged obsession with stalking, engaging in their deranged pattern of conduct, is relevant to an unlawful threat to my life, and they are also doing so with knowledge of the fact that they are being documented. And the targeting on my website is, and on my platforms, X and YouTube, for example, is the evidence of that. So that's when I document. They're walking in and out, and they're doing so in engineer light, which also fills the grocery store, and they're doing it while the entity is stalking by flying over the sky space, where, again, the terminals 2 and 4 are where you were taking off. You're not going to be hovering like this. And it's also speaking to where there would be no plane activity even in this location, and it's all punctuated by what is the entity's ongoing pattern of conduct of aerial surveillance, and then the people on the ground, the people of the state who are demons in that engineered light, pacing all around, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I'm documenting them while they're doing it, and I'm documenting their license plates. And as I publish this on X, the entity is locking my account. That's a federal offense. Okay, this is relevant to what the entity is indeed engaging in, and it is relevant to what is an unlawful threat posed by what is the entity accessing my accounts, removing evidence. And so I wanted to show this is relevant to what is blocking my account, and it's an unlawful blockage of my account. I documented this yesterday on X. What I'm publishing about the state actor Jason Fields is removed off of X. X is a part of the entity, and so is Jason Fields, a gang leader, conspiring my murder and stealing and conspiring with Tracy Banks, and he is subject to federal prison, including while the entity removes evidence. Everything I put on my social media is evidence, evidence that's removed, and which is serving to protect the entity while my life remains under threat. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It's currently 11:52 a.m. at the OVITT Family Community Library in the specific environment where the demons are pacing in and out, because that's what that is. Administration pacing in and out of the doors, a means of them stalking with noise in the engineered light. Okay, they're doing so while the entity keeps the fake sun, and today, while the fake sun is covered up, the entity is engaging what is stalking with the city of Ontario, surrounding with the vehicles, maintaining peculiarized light, doing so with FedEx, doing so with the people of the state at the downtown Ontario luxury apartments, doing so with Budget and the third-party companies that are surrounding while they are monitoring, and they are stalking with light and doing so just as I show you what all of the entity is doing under the fake sun. All right, this is Title 18 federal stalking. This is federal stalking on the venue of the internet with the intent to obstruct justice. P.O.C.